expense. A successful league needs to solve a problem or fulfill a demand. And, he's right, or whoever this is, he, she, sports fan, can we stop lying to ourselves about Unrivaled? Or Unrivaled addresses a problem that shouldn't exist, but one that desperately needs solving. If you're one of the best...
Complete silence filled the space where confidence once lived. What was supposed to be Unrivaled's second act, the moment that proved its long-term legitimacy, instead opened with a thud that echoed across the entire women's basketball landscape. The numbers arrived quietly, but their impact was loud enough to rattle investors, players, and critics alike. On opening day, Unrivaled's primetime games averaged just 175,000 viewers, while the afternoon window struggled to reach 107,000. For a league that once sold itself on momentum, disruption, and inevitability, the reality was jarring. This was not a stumble. It was a warning shot. Last year, curiosity carried Unrivaled forward. There was novelty in the format, intrigue in the promise, and optimism in the idea that women's basketball was finally entering an era where players didn't have to beg for financial respect. Opening night in year one drew over 313,000 viewers, buoyed by excitement and the buzz of something new. Even the regular season numbers, averaging around 28,000 viewers, felt like a foundation waiting to be built upon. But Season 2 stripped away that protective layer of curiosity.
Fandom isn't just about watching games, it's an extension of identity. Fans invest because they feel a sense of connection and belonging. The connection fuels ticket sales.
What remained was a league exposed to the unforgiving truth of modern sports economics. Attention must be earned every night, not assumed. As the ratings slid further on Friday night, dipping again toward the low six figures, a troubling pattern became impossible to ignore. This wasn't about scheduling quirks or Monday afternoon tip-offs. Even the primetime windows were down sharply from last year. The one-on-one tournament that once served as Unrivaled's peak now looked like a high-water mark they might never reach again.
That changes things. This was the original numbers. Ben Pickman, Unrivaled opening day on Monday averaged 175,000 viewers during its prime.
The initial buzz hadn't translated into habit. And without habit, there is no audience. Without audience, there is no league. Behind the scenes, the larger picture grew even more unsettling. While Unrivaled was fighting to hold attention, the WNBA was undergoing a financial awakening that few saw coming so quickly. New investments, expansion talks, and the looming collective bargaining agreement promised a future where WNBA players would finally earn salaries that reflected their value. The very problem Unrivaled was designed to solve, inadequate pay forcing elite athletes to seek second jobs, was rapidly disappearing. And as that happened, Unrivaled's central pitch began to collapse under its own weight. This wasn't just competition. It felt like conquest. Athletes who once looked at alternative leagues as lifelines were now watching the WNBA surge ahead, strengthened by the pressure challengers helped create. The irony was brutal. By proving that women's basketball players deserved more, Unrivaled and similar ventures accelerated the WNBA's evolution, inadvertently erasing their own advantage. What was once revolutionary became redundant almost overnight. Critics who had been dismissed as pessimists suddenly sounded prophetic. An old Reddit thread resurfaced, its headline now reading less like provocation and more like diagnosis. Can we stop lying to ourselves about Unrivaled? The post argued that paying players more, while morally correct, was not a business model. It was an expense. A league needs a product, a consumer, and a reason for fans to care beyond virtue. At the time, many brushed it off as negativity. Today, with ratings collapsing and momentum gone, those words cut deeper than ever. Sports fandom is not transactional. People don't just watch games because athletes are paid fairly. They watch because teams represent something, because rivalries spark emotion, because loyalty becomes identity. College basketball understands this better than anyone. Fans don't just root for players. They root for schools, traditions, and shared histories. LSU isn't just a roster. Iowa isn't just Caitlin Clark. South Carolina, Notre Dame, UConn. These programs are emotional anchors. They turn players into legends because they provide context, continuity, and belonging. Unrivaled never found that anchor. Teams felt temporary, almost abstract, collections of talent assembled without roots or rivalries. There were no phantom fans or hive-lifers. No generational attachment waiting to be passed down. Without that emotional glue, viewers drifted away once the novelty wore off. The league asked fans to care simply because the basketball was high level and the intentions were noble. In an overcrowded sports marketplace, that wasn't enough. Star power, too, revealed its limits. Only a handful of women's basketball players possess the kind of gravitational pull that can meaningfully move ratings on their own. And many of those stars weren't there. Without a Caitlin Clark-level draw or a constellation of household names, Unrivaled was left hoping collective excellence could substitute for individual magnetism. It couldn't. Talent alone doesn't guarantee attention, especially when audiences are already stretched thin across leagues, platforms, and formats. Meanwhile, the WNBA kept building. Expansion teams promised new markets and fresh storylines. Media deals hinted at broader reach. Most importantly, players began to see a future where staying home made sense financially. The upcoming CBA negotiations loomed like a turning point, one that could push salaries to levels that made off-season alternatives unnecessary. If that happens, Unrivaled's most powerful incentive disappears completely. Even some of Unrivaled's most prominent voices acknowledged the danger. Nafisa Collier's earlier comments questioning the league's long-term sustainability resurfaced with uncomfortable clarity. She had spoken about the difficulty of running a viable business, about the need for people who understood how to balance ideals with reality. At the time, her skepticism was met with resistance. Now, the ratings told the story for her. The WNBA has something no startup can manufacture quickly: history. It has weathered skepticism, underfunding, and cultural indifference for decades, slowly carving out legitimacy. That history matters. It creates trust with fans, networks, and sponsors. It provides a narrative spine that new leagues struggle to replicate. Even at its weakest, the WNBA carried a sense of permanence. Unrivaled, for all its ambition, still feels provisional. This is why the argument that Unrivaled just needs more time rings hollow. Women's basketball is not in a lull. It's in a boom. College stars are breaking records. The WNBA is expanding. Public interest has never been higher. If a league can't capture attention now, during the most favorable conditions imaginable, when will it? Time doesn't solve structural problems. It only exposes them. There's also a harsh truth many don't want to admit. The WNBA is the engine that drives the entire ecosystem. It's the primary marketing machine, the talent pipeline, and the cultural reference point. Without it, alternative leagues lose relevance. Players lose leverage. Fans lose context. The idea that newer leagues could meaningfully replace the WNBA ignores how deeply embedded it is in the sport's identity. Challengers can push, influence, and improve the system, but they cannot exist in isolation. Ironically, that influence may be Unrivaled's most lasting legacy. By forcing conversations about pay and value, it helped accelerate change. By raising money and attention, it proved that women's basketball was worth investing in. In doing so, it strengthened the very league it sought to compete with. That contribution matters, even if the original vision struggles to survive. Now, the future hangs in the balance. With ratings sliding, costs remaining high, and its core advantage fading, Unrivaled faces an existential question. Can it reinvent itself around something more than salaries? Can it create identity, rivalry, and emotional investment strong enough to hold fans long-term? Or will it become a case study in how good intentions and bold ideas still need grounded execution? At the same time, the global landscape is shifting. International leagues, backed by massive funding, are beginning to lure players with contracts that dwarf anything previously imaginable. As reports of overseas salaries circulate, the pressure intensifies. The commissioner's frustration reflects more than just competition. It reflects a fear of losing control in a rapidly changing market, where money is flowing in unexpected directions and traditional power structures are being challenged. Women's basketball stands at a crossroads. The sport itself is winning, growing, and gaining respect. But not every league built in this moment will survive. Some will fall so others can rise stronger. The story unfolding now isn't just about ratings or paychecks. It's about what it takes to build something that lasts in a world that demands both purpose and performance. The issue for Unrivaled isn't whether it meant well. It did. The issue is whether meaning alone can sustain a league when the ground beneath it shifts this fast. As the WNBA surges forward, armed with history, momentum, and finally money, the window for alternatives narrows. The question isn't whether women's basketball will thrive. That seems inevitable now. The question is which visions will endure once the dust settles. And that brings it back to this moment, these numbers and this silence. Because in sports, silence is rarely neutral. Sometimes it's the sound of an audience walking away. Sometimes it's the pause before reinvention. And sometimes, it's the echo left behind when opportunity passes by. So where does Unrivaled go from here? Can it adapt fast enough to matter in a landscape it helped reshape? Or has the wave of success it helped create already washed past it? Let me know what you think. Do alternative leagues still have a future alongside a booming WNBA? Or is this the beginning of the end? If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping sports right now, and drop your thoughts in the comments.